The silent fleet. They came expecting sheep and found wolves in disguise. When the Zephyrian Empire arrived at Earth with their mighty war fleets, they saw only rusted hulks and desperate humans flying museum pieces. What they didn't realize was that humanity had spent 3 months preparing the greatest deception in galactic history. Sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one that lets you think you're the hunter. The deception captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Defiant, Hope, watching the massive alien vessels approach through the viewport. The ship creaked around her, its 40-year-old hull plates groaning under the stress of acceleration. To any observer, the Defiant Hope looked exactly like what it was supposed to be. A desperate last resort. Humanity's pitiful attempt at mounting a defense with whatever ships they could scrape together. That was exactly the point. "Status report," Elena called to her crew, keeping her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. Everything depended on selling this performance. "Engines running at 60% efficiency, Captain," reported her chief engineer, a grizzled man named Torres who had actually served on ships like this during his youth. "Hull stress is within acceptable parameters, but the structural integrity warnings are going off every few minutes." "Perfect," Elena muttered. "Make sure those warnings are loud enough for our guest to hear." 3 months ago, Earth had received its first visitor from the stars. The Zephyrian Empire, a collection of worlds that had been conquering systems for over 1,000 years, had finally noticed the little blue planet on the edge of the galaxy. Their advanced scout had arrived with all the ceremony of a landlord, serving an eviction notice. The message had been simple and terrifying: surrender unconditionally or be destroyed. Humanity had 1 week to decide. Earth's leaders had asked for more time. They claimed they needed to unify the planet's governments, to prepare their people for the reality of interstellar politics. The Zephyrians, confident in their overwhelming superiority, had granted an extension. 3 months to get their affairs in order before the conquest began. What the aliens didn't know was that those 3 months hadn't been spent on surrender preparations. "Admiral Chen's signal is coming through," announced Communications Officer Park, her fingers dancing across her console. "He's giving the final go-ahead." Elena nodded grimly. Admiral Chen Wei, the architect of Operation Sleeping Dragon, was aboard the flagship Terra's Pride, another antique that looked ready to fall apart at any moment. In reality, the ship was one of the most advanced vessels ever built by human hands, disguised beneath layers of fake rust and deliberately outdated external components. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen." The voice crackled through the comm system with just the right amount of static. "Remember, we are Earth's brave but outmatched defenders. We fight with honor, but we are clearly overwhelmed. Make them believe they're fighting our best." The Zephyrian fleet emerged from their faster-than-light jump with the precision of a military parade. 12 massive dreadnoughts, each the size of a city, accompanied by dozens of cruisers and hundreds of smaller attack craft. Their ships gleamed with an otherworldly beauty, smooth organic curves that seemed to flow like liquid metal through space. Commander Krelthak observed the human fleet from the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. The sight before him almost made him laugh. 43 human vessels, most of them clearly ancient, arranged in what their primitive tactical computers probably considered a defensive formation. The largest of their ships wouldn't even qualify as a light cruiser in the Zephyrian fleet. "These are the mighty warriors of Earth?" asked his second-in-command, Junior Commander Veltar. "I count barely 50 ships, most of them older than my offspring." Krelthak's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Look closer, Veltar. See how they shake? Notice the energy readings, primitive fusion drives that can barely maintain orbit. These humans are flying in ships that should have been scrapped decades ago." The truth was even more pathetic than it appeared. According to Zephyrian intelligence, Earth had no unified military. Their technology was centuries behind Zephyrian standards. Their largest cities were concentrated on the surface of a single world, making them vulnerable to orbital bombardment. The conquest should take hours, not days. "Shall we begin the demonstration, Commander?" Veltar asked. Standard Zephyrian protocol called for destroying 10% of the enemy fleet immediately, to encourage surrender and minimize resistance. "Yes, But choose the weakest targets, Krelthak replied. We want survivors to spread word of our power. Begin with those 3 vessels on the left flank. They're barely holding together as it is. Elena watched the alien weapons charge through her tactical display. Energy readings were off the charts, far beyond anything Earth had encountered before. These beings could glass entire continents with their weapons. Here they come, she whispered. Remember, everyone, we're brave but doomed. Fight like heroes, die like martyrs. The first Zephyrian barrage lanced across space, striking 3 human ships with devastating precision. The vessels exploded in brilliant fireballs, their crew's final transmissions filled with courage and defiance. What the Zephyrians didn't see were the tiny escape pods that jettisoned in the moments before impact, or the fact that each destroyed ship had been operated by a skeleton crew of volunteers. Most of the casualties were already safely aboard other vessels, ready to play their parts in the greater deception. Direct hit on the vigilant, steadfast, and courageous, reported Park, her voice carrying just the right note of shock and grief. No survivors detected. Elena gritted her teeth. Those were good ships and their sacrifice had to mean something. All vessels return fire. Show them what humanity is made of. The human counterattack was everything the Zephyrians expected. Brave, passionate, and utterly futile. Primitive missiles and energy weapons struck Zephyrian shields without causing significant damage. A few lucky shots managed to scratch the paint on enemy hulls, which was more than Krelthak had anticipated but hardly threatening. Admirable spirit, Krelthak observed as human weapons continued to pepper his fleet. But this is hardly the challenge our war singers will commemorate. Veltar, proceed with the next phase. Destroy half their remaining ships. Leave enough survivors to carry word of their defeat to their homeworld. The battle continued for 3 hours, following the script perfectly. Human ships fought with desperate courage, employing tactics that were clever but ultimately ineffective against superior technology. They tried ramming attacks, coordinated strikes, even using their own destroyed vessels as cover. Some of their maneuvers were actually quite innovative. Krelthak made mental notes to include them in his report. By the end, only 12 human ships remained, limping away with massive damage and depleted weapons. The Zephyrian fleet hadn't lost a single vessel. Shall we pursue and finish them, Commander? Asked Veltar. Krelthak considered. Standard doctrine called for complete elimination of enemy forces, but these humans had shown unexpected spirit. Their defeat would be more demoralizing if word spread of how easily they had been crushed. No. Let them flee to their homeworld. When they tell their leaders how easily we swept aside their best defenders, surrender will come more quickly. He paused, watching the retreating human ship struggle with damaged engines. Besides, those vessels are so badly damaged they'll probably explode before reaching Earth anyway. As the human fleet limped away, Elena allowed herself a small smile. Phase 1 was complete. The Zephyrians believed they had won a decisive victory against Earth's primary defense force. They would expect the planet to surrender within days or at most to mount a desperate last stand, with whatever reserves remained. They were wrong on both counts. Admiral Chen, this is Captain Vasquez, she transmitted on a heavily encrypted channel. Fisher in the barrel, proceeding to Phase 2. Chen's voice came back steady and confident. Outstanding work, Elena. All ships maintain radio silence and proceed to Rally Point Sigma. It's time to show our guests what human ingenuity really looks like. The surviving human vessels didn't flee toward Earth as the Zephyrians assumed. Instead, they used the cover of a nearby asteroid field to rendezvous with the real Earth defense fleet. Ships that had been hidden in the outer system for months, waiting for this moment. Dr. Marcus Reed had been studying the Zephyrian technology since their first contact, analyzing every transmission, every scan, every piece of data Earth's deep space sensors could gather. What he'd discovered would change everything. The beauty of their technology is also its weakness, Reed explained to the assembled fleet commanders via secure hologram. Zephyrian ships are incredibly advanced, but they're also incredibly standardized. Every vessel in their fleet uses the same core systems, the same communication protocols, the same tactical databases. Admiral Chen leaned forward in his command chair. Meaning? Meaning they're predictable. Their ships are designed to fight enemies who meet them on equal technological terms. They have contingencies for ships that are faster, or more heavily armed, or better shielded. But they have no protocols for dealing with opponents who are simply different. Reed's analysis had revealed something else critical. Zephyrian military doctrine was based on overwhelming technological superiority. They won battles by bringing better weapons to the fight, not by outthinking their opponents. Their tactics were refined but rigid, their strategies proven but inflexible. Humanity was about to teach them why flexibility mattered. The real Earth defense fleet wasn't composed of sleek, powerful warships. Instead, it consisted of vessels that no conventional military would recognize as combat effective. Modified mining ships with industrial-grade lasers, converted cargo haulers equipped with magnetic harpoons designed for asteroid capture, deep space tugs that could push or pull objects many times their own mass. And then there were the ghost ships. Lieutenant Sarah Kim ran her hands along the control surfaces of her vessel, the Whisper Wind. From the outside, it looked like an outdated courier ship, the kind used for mail runs between orbital stations. Inside, it was something else entirely. "All Ghost units, final equipment check," came the voice of Ghost Squadron's commander. "Remember, you're not fighter pilots today. You're ghosts. You don't exist until you want to exist." Sarah smiled grimly. The ghost ships were Elena's old profession turned into a weapon of war. For 20 years before the alien contact, Elena had operated as a deep space salvage specialist, using stealth technology and creative thinking to recover valuable materials from dead ships and abandoned stations. The work required patience, cunning, and the ability to remain undetected in hostile environments. Now those skills would be put to a very different use. The Zephyrian fleet was settling into orbit around Earth, preparing for the planet's inevitable surrender. Their sensors were focused downward, scanning for military installations and population centers. They weren't watching their flanks for threats that shouldn't exist. "Phase 2 is go," Admiral Chen transmitted. "All units, remember, we're not trying to destroy their fleet. We're trying to make them understand that they've made a very serious mistake. Humanity was about to go hunting." "The hunt begins, Commander." Krelthak was reviewing casualty reports when the first ghost ship struck. The attack came without warning. One moment the Eternal Dominion's sister ship Victorious Conquest was maintaining standard patrol formation, the next moment its primary communication array was gone, severed by a precisely targeted industrial laser. "Report," Krelthak barked, his forearms reaching for different control panels simultaneously. "Unknown contact, sir," his sensor operator replied, confusion evident in her voice. "The attack appeared to come from nothing. Our sensors show no enemy vessels in that sector." Krelthak's eyes narrowed. "Replay the sensor logs." The holographic display showed the attack from multiple angles, a brief flash of laser fire, originating from empty space, striking with surgical precision. No ship, no energy signature, no trace of the attacker. "Sensor malfunction?" suggested Veltar. Before Krelthak could respond, another report came in. The cruiser Swift Retribution had lost its primary weapons array to another ghost attack. Then the Conquering Storm reported that something had attached itself to their hull and was cutting through their armor plating with what appeared to be mining equipment. "This is impossible," Veltar whispered. "The humans were crushed. Their fleet was destroyed." Krelthak studied the tactical display, his military mind working furiously. The attacks were too coordinated to be accidents, too precise to be random. Somehow, humanity had vessels operating in their midst, undetected by the most advanced sensors in the galaxy. Sarah Kim crouched in the maintenance shaft of the Zephyrian cruiser, her cutting torch working steadily through the alien metal. The ghost ships weren't designed for direct combat. They were designed to get close enough to enemy vessels to cause maximum chaos with minimum detection. Her ship, the Whisper Wind, was currently attached to the cruiser's underside like a mechanical parasite. held in place by magnetic clamps and hidden from sensors by adaptive camouflage technology. The same systems that had allowed her to salvage derelict ships in asteroid fields now let her operate undetected inside an enemy fleet. "Ghost 7 to control," she whispered into her comm unit. "I'm inside their primary data conduit. Ready to upload the package." "Copy that, Ghost 7, came Admiral Chen's voice. "Package is go." Sarah inserted Dr. Reed's specially designed virus into the alien computer system. It wasn't designed to destroy or damage. Instead, it would simply observe and report, giving Earth intelligence on Zephyrian fleet movements and tactical plans. But more importantly, it would begin subtly altering the aliens' sensor readings, making their advanced detection systems less reliable. Every ghost ship carried similar packages, designed to gradually degrade the enemy's technological advantages. "Package delivered," Sarah reported. "Beginning extraction." As she made her way back to the whisper wind, Sarah could hear the sounds of confusion and alarm echoing through the alien ship's corridors. The Zephyrians were discovering that their defeated enemies were somehow still fighting, still causing problems, still refusing to behave like a conquered species should. Elena Vasquez was having the time of her life. The Defiant Hope, supposedly one of the barely surviving remnants of Earth's defeated fleet, was currently disguised as a piece of space debris drifting near the Zephyrian formation. Her crew was monitoring enemy communications and feeding intelligence to the Ghost Squadron. "Ma'am, we're picking up increased chatter from the alien command ship," reported Communications Officer Park. "They're trying to coordinate a response to the Ghost attacks, but their commanders are having trouble believing the reports." "Understandable," Elena replied. "If someone told me invisible ships were cutting up my fleet, I'd question their sanity too." The beauty of the human strategy was its psychological impact. The Zephyrians had arrived expecting to fight a conventional war against an inferior opponent. Instead, they were facing an enemy that seemed to phase in and out of existence, striking without warning and vanishing before retaliation was possible. Dr. Reed's analysis had been correct. Zephyrian military doctrine had no protocols for this kind of warfare. "Captain," called out her tactical officer, "we're receiving transmission from the mining consortium ships. They're in position for Operation Asteroid." Elena grinned. If the ghost ships were the scalpel of humanity's response, the mining ships were the hammer. The Rockbreaker, Deep Digger, and Ore Hunter had been legitimate mining vessels until 3 months ago. Now they were something unprecedented in galactic warfare. Ships designed to hunt other ships using industrial equipment as weapons. Captain Torres, Elena's former chief engineer, commanded the Rockbreaker from its cramped bridge. The ship looked exactly like what it was, a utilitarian vessel designed for extracting valuable materials from asteroids. Its massive manipulator arms were intended for grabbing and positioning chunks of rock. Its high-powered lasers were meant for precision cutting of mineral deposits. The Zephyrians were about to learn that the same equipment worked remarkably well on enemy starships. "Mining team to all units," Torres transmitted. "We have a rich vein of alien metal just waiting to be extracted. Beginning harvesting operations." The 3 mining ships emerged from the asteroid field like predators from tall grass, their industrial cutting beams lancing out toward the Zephyrian fleet. But instead of trying to destroy enemy vessels, they targeted specific systems: communication arrays, weapon mounts, sensor clusters. The Zephyrian cruiser, Stellar Dominance, found itself caught by the Rockbreaker's massive manipulator arms, designed to handle asteroids weighing millions of tons. The alien vessel's weapons couldn't target something grappling it at such close range, and its engines weren't powerful enough to break free from equipment designed to move planetary debris. "What are they doing?" demanded Commander Krelthak, watching helplessly as human mining ships systematically dismantled his cruiser's external systems. "Why aren't they trying to destroy it?" Dr. Reed could have explained the strategy. Destroying enemy ships was wasteful. It eliminated valuable resources and intelligence. But capturing and dismantling them, removing their ability to fight while keeping their crews alive, was much more demoralizing. It also sent a message. Humanity wasn't trying to match Zephyrian technology with superior weapons. They were using the aliens' own assumptions against them. "Sir," reported the Eternal Dominion's tactical officer, "the humans appear to be salvaging our ships." Krelthak stared at the display in disbelief. The mining vessels were methodically stripping weapons and sensor arrays from Zephyrian cruisers, their crews working with the calm efficiency of professionals who had been doing this kind of work for decades. Because that's exactly what they were. "Open a channel to the human fleet," Krelthak ordered. "I want to speak with their commander." The response came from an unexpected source, not Admiral Chen aboard the flagship, but Captain Vasquez from her supposedly damaged vessel. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth Defense Force," came the voice across the comm system. "I believe you wanted to talk?" "You were defeated," Krelthak snarled. "Your fleet was destroyed. How are you still fighting?" Elena's laugh was genuinely amused. "Commander, with respect, you destroyed some ships. You didn't destroy humanity's ability to fight. You just made us get creative about how we do it." On the tactical display, more human ships were appearing as if from nowhere. Cargo haulers were using magnetic harpoons to drag Zephyrian fighters out of formation. Deep space tugs were employing their massive engines to push alien vessels into each other. Construction ships were building barriers of debris that disrupted Zephyrian attack patterns. "This is not warfare," Krelthak protested. "These are industrial accidents." "No, Commander," Elena replied calmly. "This is human warfare. We don't fight the way you expect us to fight. We fight the way we need to fight to win." The truth was starting to dawn on Krelthak. The initial battle hadn't been humanity's last desperate stand. It had been an intelligence-gathering operation. Earth's defenders had allowed themselves to be defeated in order to study Zephyrian tactics, technology, and psychology. And now they were using that knowledge to systematically dismantle his fleet, using methods that no military academy in the galaxy had ever considered. "Admiral," came a new voice on the channel, Admiral Chen joining the conversation from the Terra's Pride. "I'm going to make you an offer. Your fleet is currently being taken apart by ships that aren't even military vessels. Your weapons are designed to fight other warships, not industrial equipment operated by people who've been working in space longer than your empire has existed." Chen paused, letting that sink in. "You have two choices. You can continue this engagement and watch your fleet get systematically dismantled by mining equipment, or you can accept that humanity isn't the easy conquest you expected and withdraw from our system." Krelthak looked around his bridge at officers who were staring at their displays in shock and confusion. Half his fleet was either disabled or being actively harvested by human industrial ships. The other half was trying to fight an enemy they couldn't even see consistently. "And if we withdraw?" he asked. "Then you report back to your empire that Earth is more trouble than it's worth," Admiral Chen replied. "You tell them that humans fight dirty, think differently, and turn everything into a weapon. You tell them that conquering us would cost more than any possible benefit." Commander Veltar leaned close to Krelthak. "Sir, we could call for reinforcements. The Empire has ships that could overwhelm even these unconventional tactics." Krelthak considered this. More ships could certainly crush Earth's defenses through sheer numbers. But at what cost? How many vessels would humanity disable or capture using these unorthodox methods? How many Zephyrian crews would be taken prisoner by beings who treated warfare like an industrial process? More importantly, what other surprises were the humans hiding? "Negative, Veltar," he decided. "Signal the fleet. We're withdrawing from Earth space." The retreat wasn't a rout, but it was definitive. Zephyrian ships that could still maneuver began pulling back from Earth orbit, leaving behind several vessels that had been too thoroughly harvested by human mining operations to follow. Elena watched them go with mixed feelings. Victory felt good, but she knew this was only the beginning. Earth had won this battle through surprise and unconventional thinking, but word would spread through the galaxy about human tactics. "Admiral," she called to Chen, "what happens when they come back with different ships, different strategies?" Chen's voice carried a note of confidence that surprised her. "Then we'll adapt again, Elena. That's what humans do. We adapt. They spent 1,000 years perfecting their way of warfare. We spent 3 months figuring out how to make it irrelevant. Dr. Reed's voice joined the conversation from his research station. The Zephyrians aren't the only species out there. But today I suspect most of them are going to think very carefully before challenging humanity. As the alien fleet disappeared into faster-than-light travel, Earth's defenders began the long process of recovery and preparation. The ghost ships emerged from stealth to begin salvaging alien technology. The mining ships started processing the captured Zephyrian vessels, learning their secrets and adapting their systems for human use. Sarah Kim docked her ship with the main fleet, exhausted but exhilarated. "Control, this is Ghost 7. Mission complete, and Control? Go ahead, Ghost 7. Next time someone wants to conquer humanity, make sure they understand we've been turning problems into solutions for our entire history. We're really, really good at it." Admiral Chen smiled as he looked out at Earth, blue and beautiful and unconquered. Humanity had won its first interstellar war not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through the same qualities that had carried them from caves to the stars: creativity, adaptability, and the absolute refusal to give up. The galaxy had just learned that sometimes the most dangerous opponent isn't the one with the biggest weapons, but the one who refuses to fight by your rules. In the depths of space, other civilizations were already receiving reports of Earth's victory. Some dismissed it as impossible. Others began making careful notes about human tactical innovations. A few, the wisest among them, quietly removed Earth from their lists of potential conquest targets and added it to a very different list: species that were far more valuable as allies than as enemies. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy not with a roar, but with a whisper that somehow carried farther than any shout. The age of human space had begun.